Scott family was at the height of its prominence when I married the down-and-out Cal Ray. Scott family fell from grace. He brought his first love Zoe Long home. I quietly took out the divorce papers I had prepared long ago, yet he looked at it as if it was some kind of joke. Can you live without me? Where else could you go without me? But he seemed to forget that before marrying him, I was a sought-after jewelry designer. When I came across Cal and his first love Zoe kissing in a social media post, I was in the middle of slitting my wrists. In the photo, Cal was sitting on the sofa, holding Zoe, slightly tilting his head back, closing his eyes as he kissed her passionately, as if trying to merge her into his body, while Zoe sat on his lap, gently cradling his face, submitting to the embrace. Caption: after all the twists and turns, it's still you. Cal never liked updating his personal status. Who posted this update is self-evident. His social media feed immediately exploded. Zoe is back in the country. You little brat, no matter how angry you get, in the end, you still can't leave our real sister-in-law. Can you? Red wine spilled, the crimson liquid trickling down their shoulders and arms, seeping into their collars, sensual and alluring. That color was exactly the same as the blood dispersing in my bathtub. Suddenly, I felt it was all so pointless. Here I am, making a scene left and right, yet it doesn't affect their sweet romance in the slightest. Why bother making such a mess of myself? Before my consciousness completely faded, I threw away the fruit knife and, with trembling hands that could barely hold anything, used the last bit of my strength to dial the emergency number. When I woke up again, the first thing I saw was a white ceiling. My body felt incredibly heavy, and even with all my effort, I could only slightly turn my head and move my fingers. Suddenly, a thunderous accusation exploded in my ear. So what if I just went out for a drink with Zoe? Was it really necessary to humiliate me like this? I struggled to get up, only to see Zoe standing far by the door, her finger lightly touching the tip of her nose. Cal by my bedside with one hand in his pocket, his face full of impatience. You promised my father you'd love only me for a lifetime. Have you forgotten all that? I spoke word by word, my fingers clutching the bedsheet tightly, my cut wrist tearing open again. Cal sneered as if he had heard some joke. When your father forced me to marry you, did he ever imagine he and his precious daughter would come to this? A tear slid down from the corner of her eye. The truth was clearly not like this. Back then, it was obviously Zoe who left with the rich second-generation heir, and my father merely asked if he was willing to marry me. But I never thought that in his eyes, this casual question would be seen as coercion. Suddenly, there was nothing left to say. Cal, let's get a divorce. Cal paused for a moment, a mocking sneer hanging at the corner of his lips. M.A. Scott, where could you possibly go without me? I didn't respond. For 3 whole years, I gave up painting and design. When it was cold, I made him soup. When his stomach hurt, I brought him medicine. When he wanted Zoe to drink himself into a stupor, I silently helped him to bed, washed the clothes he soiled from vomiting, and stayed up all night watching over him, afraid he'd fall ill. Turns out, all these things became proof that I couldn't leave him. MEA, remember this. He gently took Zoe's hand and looked at me with unshaken confidence. Zoe is the one I'm going to marry. As for you, he gave me an extremely cold glance. Pack up and get discharged immediately. Hold a press conference tomorrow to clarify things for Zoe. Then go home and stay put. Stop embarrassing yourself in public. He turned his head, his jawline tightly clenched. If you want a divorce, you'll have to wait until the scandal of Scott family's bankruptcy blows over. Don't even think about pinning the label of ingratitude on my Ray family. I suddenly became very curious. Do you want Zoe to be the other woman? Zoe, however, looked completely indifferent. Her gaze at me filled with pitying mockery, pitying my struggle over a title, mocking the pathetic nature of my love. If it weren't for Zoe not caring about titles, do you think the title of Ray's wife would have fallen to you? But remember, from now on, Zoe will be the only woman by my side. Cal impatiently grabbed Zoe's hand and turned to leave, without giving me another glance. How ridiculous. I don't know who to laugh at, but warm tears streamed from the corners of my eyes. It seems I should leave too. Blame my foolishness for never seeing through this man. Looking back now, the signs of all the problems could have been detected from the very beginning. When Cal and I got married, he took me on a honeymoon. The only time he publicly acknowledged our relationship, I walked into the new home he had spent a month preparing for me, filled with joy, yet the decorations in the room left me feeling both unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Cal, I remember telling you, I don't like pink. I pointed angrily at the pink lace curtains. Pink is wonderful, perfect for a little princess like you. His words warmed my heart. Though I came from a well-off family, I still believed there should be no hierarchy in marriage. Just two people snuggled together, living a cozy life. We took a group photo in front of the pink curtains and announced our relationship on all social platforms like WeChat Moments and Weibo. At that time, the sweetness in my heart was almost overflowing. I didn't notice at all that he was staring at his phone with an anxious expression. I called him several times, but he didn't respond. It wasn't until evening that he finally put down his phone and had dinner with me. He got completely drunk and suddenly covered his eyes. Cal, I'm here. I grabbed his hand, but unexpectedly, he pushed me away forcefully. I don't want you, it's all your dad's fault, Zoe. I froze, feeling a stabbing pain in my chest. The only flaw in our marriage was that he always believed my father forced him to marry me, suppressing the ache in my heart. I hugged him. Cal, I'll be with you from now on. Who would have thought he would push me away with such force that I nearly fell? I don't want you. His eyes were bloodshot, and he spoke through gritted teeth. I want, Zoe. It was also at that moment that I saw the phone he had thrown to the ground. On the screen was unmistakably Zoe's Weibo post, where she publicly announced her relationship with a wealthy second-generation heir abroad, captioned with the words "wish fulfilled." Turns out he believed I had driven away his beloved, even causing her to end up with someone else. That night, he slept clutching his phone displaying Zoe's Weibo page, while I spent the entire night staring blankly from the balcony. The next day, he casually said sorry, and I tacitly understood, letting it go just like that. I had thought that over time, affection would grow, and he would eventually see my love. Who would have thought? Zoe suddenly came back. His proud white moonlight was ultimately defeated by another playboy. The open-minded rich second-generation heir was secretly cheating on Zoe with multiple women, until one of them, whether the fourth or fifth mistress, showed up pregnant at their doorstep, and Zoe finally realized she had been deceived. She had a massive fallout with the rich heir and returned to her home country. By then, Cal had already risen as a standout in the business world, becoming the tech tycoon Ray. My heart was in my throat, but I still clung to a sliver of hope, only for reality to deliver a crushing blow. Zoe uttered a single phrase. Cal, I was wrong. Cal blushed visibly in front of everyone. I looked at the sky blue curtains in the room and felt utterly ridiculous. For 7 years, I've been slowly erasing Zoe's traces, but now it all seems futile. Fortunately, the pain in my wrist reminded me that I was still alive. Numbly, I opened the wardrobe and reached for the suitcase at the very bottom. At that moment, the bedroom door suddenly swung open. What caught my eye was Zoe and Cal holding hands. Cal looked at me, sizing me up as if relieved, then habitually furrowed his brows. Cal, what style is this room? I've been gone for 2 years. How did your taste get worse? Zoe curled her lips in slight disdain, then stepped on the carpet that Cal and I had picked out together, scanning the entire room before clasping her hands behind her back. You absolutely must hire someone to redecorate. Cal nodded helplessly yet dotingly, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. My chest felt terribly stuffy, so I rummaged through my jewelry pouch to count the gold and silver bracelets and earrings inside, but halfway through counting, Zoe suddenly snatched the pouch away. No need to look, it's here. She took a pearl necklace and casually tossed the pouch aside. My heart skipped a beat. That necklace was Cal's custom-made gift for me, an apology present he gave after getting drunk during our honeymoon. My mind went blank as I reached out to snatch it, but Cal stopped me in one swift motion. Cal, you're being naughty. Wasn't this supposed to be my birthday gift? How could you suddenly give it to someone else? I was stunned, suddenly recalling something terrifying. This necklace Cal has treasured for years. I thought it was his prized possession, but it turns out it already had an owner. I clenched my fist, looked at Cal, and tried to force a smile, waiting for an explanation, but he turned his face away, threw down a card with a swift motion. his voice cold and indifferent. If Zoe wants it, just give it to her. Later, you can go pick out a new one at the store. Cal left too quickly. So fast that I didn't even have time to take out the divorce papers. I glanced at the suitcase. Inside, apart from clothes, there were only Cal's gifts of jewelry, all of which felt unfamiliar. After all, who knows how many of them were originally meant for Zoe? It was so disgusting that I gritted my teeth. Carrying the suitcase, I went to a jewelry store where Cal and I used to shop for jewelry together. The clerk saw me and greeted me with practiced ease. "Mrs. Ray." I poured all the jewelry from my bag onto the counter with a clatter. "I'd like to sell all of these at a discounted price. Just go by your store's rates." The shop assistant's eyes darted, her gaze turning complex and sympathetic. "Miss Scott, these pieces of jewelry you have are quite valuable. Conservatively estimated at $2 million. Let us first take inventory, and we can settle the account later." "All right, rest assured, we won't cheat you." I nodded and removed my wedding ring. "Also this one. Please include it in the valuation." The shop assistant hadn't had time to respond when someone nearby called out to her, "Are there any other styles of this ring? Why is it so plain?" My barely calmed mind began to ache again, my temples throbbing. Sure enough, it was Cal bringing Zoe to pick out wedding rings. The two of them wore matching couple rings on their hands, Zoe with the pearl necklace she had just snatched from me still around her neck. Cal's gaze bypassed the shop assistant and landed on me, his tone dripping with unmistakable impatience. "Buy less. When you run out of money saved, don't come crying to me again. Didn't your father ever teach you thrift and household management?" But mid-sentence, his eyes suddenly locked onto the wedding ring I'd placed on the counter. The reflected glint from the ring was painfully sharp. He strode over, picked up the ring, and grabbed my hand. Zoe stopped trying on the ring and turned to look at him. "What do you mean by this?" Cal glared at me fiercely. "The divorce agreement is in the bedroom. Please sign it." Cal was about to lose his temper. Zoe stamped her foot angrily, and he glanced at Zoe, lowering his voice. "How much more embarrassment do you want to cause? If you want to make a scene, do it at home." The ring was Cal slammed onto the counter with a loud snap, and I turned to leave. From behind came Zoe's careless mocking laughter. "Cal, is she really going to divorce you?" Cal spoke with certainty and indifference. "She can't bear to leave me, and besides, she's practically a housewife. Where would she go without me? At most, she'll throw a tantrum for a couple of days and then come back, a part-time housewife." I suppressed the pain in my chest. After marriage, I focused all my attention on him. Blame me for loving too humbly. I pick up the phone and dial a number. "Hello, Mr. Xiao, could you give me a chance? I'm willing to start as an intern." After hanging up the phone, I lay on the bed in my rented room, and it took quite a while before the pain in my chest eased. Suddenly, I remembered that the ceramic doll I made with my dad was left at Ray's place. I hurried to Ray's place, only to find the yard full of construction workers. "Zoe is pointing out the landscape. Throw this blanket out, and that curtain is hideous. Replace it with pink, and also, Cal." For some reason, Cal seems distracted. Only when Zoe calls him does he snap back to attention and nod. My things must be entirely mine, without a single flaw. Zoe unhappily gripped his chin, curling her lips in a smirk, her eyes brimming with dominance. Cal was exactly into this, wrapping his arms around her waist as he passionately kissed Zoe. I stepped past them, frantically searching for that chubby ceramic doll, but found nothing. "MIA, you still remember to come back," a voice full of suddenly exploded in my ear, startling me so much that I trembled all over. Slowly turning my head, I saw callous eyes that seemed almost, "Where is my ceramic doll?" I strode up to Cal. Cal was just about to speak. Zoe unhurriedly took out that ceramic doll. "You mean this?" Cal said he gave it to me. Never seen such an ugly doll. So I kept it. My heart was about to leap out of my chest. Mom passed away early. And Dad wasn't in good health either. I was his only concern. After I got married, he finally felt at ease. But when bankruptcy struck, to avoid burdening me, in a fit of emotion, he jumped off the building. I fainted from crying several times, and now all that's left is this ceramic doll. "Give it back to me." I tried to snatch it several times, Zoe, but she deliberately teased me. Gritting my teeth, I lunged at the startled Zoe without a second thought. "It's just a doll. Here, take it back." Zoe tossed it casually, and the porcelain doll shattered into pieces on the ground. "No, Dad," I cried out, collapsing to my knees, trembling hands cradling the shattered pieces. Suddenly consumed by hatred, I stood up and slapped Zoe hard across the face. Slap! Zoe clearly had never seen me like this before. Stunned by the blow, she turned to look at Cal. Cal grabbed my hand abruptly, pulling me up so forcefully that I stumbled to my feet. "Are you crazy? It's just a doll, just a doll." I turned around and slapped Cal again. "Cal, you bastard." Everyone was stunned, including Cal. It was as if long pent-up anger had been ignited, exploding in an instant. Cal grabbed my hand and pulled me into the second-floor bedroom. With no one around, he pointed at the divorce agreement on the bed, where my signature was already in place. "MIA, what the hell are you still playing at? A spoiled man will never admit his own faults. Scott's family has already fallen apart. What are you making a scene for? Or do you think I'll keep indulging your nonsense?" I took a deep breath, holding back tears, sealing all my grievances deep in my heart, leaving only one final thought. I grabbed the divorce papers from the bed and slapped them along with the pen onto his face. "Cal, I want a divorce from you." "Divorce?" Cal laughed in extreme anger, articulating each word with utmost sarcasm. "MIA, look at the news. Who dares to take you in now? If it weren't for you still holding the title of Ray's wife, those debt collectors would have torn you apart long ago." Chapter 2. I should be grateful for his protection to have survived until now, so no matter what he does, I should accept it. Suddenly, I felt an overwhelming urge to laugh. If it weren't for my father's support back then, Cal, how could he have risen from a down-and-out young man to the renowned Ray in the business world within just 3 short years? But with one misstep from my father, he revealed his true nature without hesitation. I pushed Cal away fiercely, unleashing years of pent-up anger onto him. "I don't need your pity. Haven't you always wanted to give Zoe a proper status? Sign the papers, and I'll never come between you and Zoe again." Cal staggered back several steps before barely steadying himself. His eyes burned with anger, but also with disbelief, as if I'd gone mad to even suggest divorcing him. He pressed his fingers to his temples, and the initial fury in his gaze had faded, replaced now by overwhelming pity. "I know your father's death has left you devastated and insecure. MIA, I won't touch your position as Mrs. Ray and Zoe." She wouldn't even stoop to fighting a woman like you for some meaningless title. He seemed to be looking at a jealous, paranoid victim. "Just stay home and behave." I laughed in anger, tears streaming from my eyes. I was about to say something. "Cal, what on earth are you doing?" Zoe stormed upstairs angrily. Just as she saw the divorce papers in my hand, she actually rolled her eyes and let out a self-mocking sneer. "You're so reluctant to let her go, then why did I even come back? Cal, let's part on good terms." Zoe pretended to leave. Cal hurriedly grabbed Zoe and yelled at me. "MIA, apologize to Zoe, apologize." In her dreams, I immediately grabbed Zoe's hair and slapped her again. "That first slap was because I wanted to hit you. This second one is for my dad." Caught completely off guard by the slap, Zoe's meticulously styled hair was disheveled, her blush smeared across half her face, leaving her looking as ridiculous as a clown. In her eyes, Cal was just one of her backup options, let alone me, a discarded simp abandoned by Cal. How dare a simp from a backup option hit her? Zoe immediately burst into uncontrollable sobbing. "Cal, is this the kind of woman you've raised? Divorce her immediately, or you'll never see me again for the rest of your life." Cal grabbed my wrist tightly, the very one I'd slit yesterday. The freshly healed wound tore open abruptly, the pain making me gasp sharply as bright red blood slowly seeped through the bandage. His eyes were bloodshot, as if he wanted to devour me alive. "MIA, kneel and apologize to Zoe, or don't even think about becoming Ray's wife again." I grabbed the divorce agreement and slammed it in front of him, the pain making it hard to breathe. "If you dare, Ray, then sign it." I wanted to see just how far he would go for a Zoe. Cal clearly froze for a moment, his knuckles turning white as he clenched the divorce papers. "What's the matter, Ray? Can't bear to part with the daughter of the enemy who threatened you? Or could it be, you've fallen for me?" I curled my lips into a cold, mocking smile. Cal visibly took a step back, whether out of shock or disgust was unclear. Zoe stamped her foot, snorted angrily, and turned to leave downstairs without another word. Cal signed without hesitation, threw the divorce papers at me, and gave me one last icy glance. I'll be waiting for you to come crawling back to me. I walked downstairs holding the divorce papers, my only source of strength being the shattered pieces of the porcelain doll on the floor. Even if I'm at the end of my rope, at least I still have family who loves me. Zoe is still making trouble with Cal, refusing to let it go. She insists I kneel and apologize to her, and even demands that Cal personally slap me over 20 times to vent his anger. But seeing how I remain unmoved and utterly fearless, Cal has no choice but to give up. The only reason he could control me was because I once loved him and obeyed his every wish. You can't even manage your own woman. Why should I follow you? Zoe disbelievingly, fiercely grabbed Cal's tie, but Cal used other means to coax her. In a couple of days, I'll divorce MIA. And we'll get married, okay? I promised to make her kneel and apologize to you at the wedding. Cal's voice was full of arrogance. He was certain I would disrupt his wedding with Zoe. Zoe bit her lip and stiffened her face. She could tell that Cal had his own ulterior motives. He wanted to have a wedding with her. So the tone was cold and harsh. Fine, when the time comes, let the whole city see that I, Zoe, have never lacked suitors. Zoe was anxious. All the public displays of affection with Cal during this period were just to provoke her wealthy ex-boyfriend. No matter how capable Cal is, he's just a tech upstart propped up by my father, still lacking a solid foundation. How could it compare to the opponent's 3 generations of meticulous effort, which provided such a solid background? Otherwise, she wouldn't have abandoned the potential stock Cal back then and resolutely followed the wealthy heir abroad. Cal was fully aware, yet he remained hopelessly infatuated with Zoe. When I left, I couldn't help but feel disgusted by the conversation between the two of them. I never would have imagined that Cal would actually use such childish tactics to provoke me. The person who told me the whole story was none other than that rich second-generation Xiao Ziliang, who is now my boss, CEO Xiao. If he weren't such a playboy, Cal probably wouldn't have gotten Zoe to even glance at him in this lifetime. In the blink of an eye. I've been working hard at Xiao Ziliang's company for nearly half a month. Fortunately, my foundation in painting is still there, and coupled with my habit of drawing, I haven't completely lost touch with the market. I earned 30 million for Xiao Ziliang, and all the commissions went to paying off my father's debts, finally giving us some breathing room. During that time, apart from handling the divorce procedures, I never saw Cal again. However, the look in his eyes, like he wanted to tear me apart. The moment we got the certificate is something I'll never forget. But recently, it's been strange. Even though I haven't seen him, his assistant has been harassing me non-stop. MIA sis. Ray keeps reminding you to attend his wedding on time and asks if you've realized your mistake yet. Ray says he's giving you one last chance. As long as you kneel and apologize to Miss Zoe, he'll give you an opportunity. This made Xiao Ziliang, who happened to be passing by my studio, burst into laughter. I didn't want to go at first, but Xiao Ziliang, fiddling with the invitation Zoe had sent over, suddenly insisted I accompany him to watch the spectacle. Their wedding was a grand affair, with almost all the prominent figures in the capital invited, making the scene incredibly lively. Yet every detail felt eerily familiar, not to mention, the venue was the very same private island where Cal and I had our wedding. Even Zoe's mermaid-style wedding gown was an upgraded version of the one I wore when marrying Cal, only more extravagant and luxurious in design. It is said that Zoe's bridal makeup was personally done by Cal after he spent half a month learning how to apply it. Just those dark green eyebrows alone took 20 minutes to perfect, with the finely drawn tails slanting upward, showcasing Zoe's innocence and charm to the fullest, an indescribable elegance and allure. Zoe looked at me with eyes full of pride and disdain, but when she saw Xiao Ziliang walking in beside me, her smile visibly froze. Cal, on the other hand, stared intently at me, as if to say, I knew you'd come back. Cal and Zoe held a Western-style wedding on a wooden platform, with guests seated on either side and a central aisle for the couple to walk through. Cal held Zoe's hand as they walked toward the officiant, but his gaze remained fixed on me. When they reached me, Zoe suddenly kicked off her wedding shoes, finally looking at me with eyes full of resentment. Pick up my shoes for me." She extended her bare foot. Most of the wedding guests were somewhat aware of our messy history, and now they were covering their mouths to stifle giggles. I couldn't help but wonder if I hadn't hit her hard enough last time. "Doesn't Miss Long have hands of her own?" Looking down at me, she smoothed the intricate embroidery on her lavish gown, a blatant show of superiority. "Then let your groom pick it up. Isn't he the best at this kind of thing?" The fallen shoe rolled into the grass, its leather surface torn by the iron nails on the side of the wooden stairs, and one of the diamonds chipped off. Clearly a ruined shoe. "Enough." Cal turned red with anger, his lips pressed tightly together. If you're going to apologize, do it properly. If you behave well today, I might consider remarrying you or helping you pay off your debts." He was clearly not well informed. Only after I stepped out of the emotional trap did I realize how foolish Cal was. I immediately kicked that worn-out shoe even farther away. Cal was furious and grabbed my wrist tightly, but fortunately, my wound had already healed. And it wouldn't bleed like last time. Just as Cal and I were locked in a stalemate, suddenly, a dark figure flashed before my eyes. Xiao Ziliang stood up and forcibly pulled my hand free from Cal's grip. Cal was seething with rage, on the verge of fighting Xiao Ziliang. I couldn't take it anymore and stood up, pushing away violently. "Cal, enough of you." Facing Xiao Ziliang's half-smiling expression and my own look of utter annoyance, Cal was completely stunned. Cal had actually regretted it long ago. He liked Zoe, but May managed to soften his hardened heart with trivial things like a bowl of porridge and a new tie. These raindrop-like little gestures. He had considered letting go of his resentment over the humiliation of being coerced and accepting MIA. But then Zoe returned, which was an enormous surprise. After all, MIA loved him so much, and Zoe didn't even need a formal commitment. He didn't think it was a big deal. How many people in their circle didn't have emotional entanglements with each other? But the usually obedient MIA dared to ask for a divorce. His heart was filled with resentment. When did the regret start? He didn't know, but he knew that when he saw MIA put down her wedding ring in the jewelry store, he felt fear in his heart. No one knew that after MIA left, when Zoe was choosing a ring, he bought back all the jewelry MIA had sold. On the way home, he kept Mia's wedding ring in his pocket, its warmth burning his palm, its edges digging painfully into his skin. In a flustered panic, he thought, if MIA came back to apologize, he would forgive her. Everything could be water under the bridge. Yet, a part of him felt reassured, convinced that MIA loved him too much, and without him, she had no means to repay her debts. But the MIA who returned only wanted a divorce, and in an instant, rage clouded his mind. It wasn't until he proposed to Zoe that he truly realized he regretted it. No matter how perfect the unattainable ideal may be, it can't compare to the wife by his side. He clearly felt that he didn't like Zoe as much anymore. It was just a momentary impulse. Yet Zoe agreed, so he thought, taking this opportunity to give MIA a little warning might not be a bad idea. While doing Zoe's makeup backstage, the face that kept appearing before his eyes was MIA's. MIA would never be this fussy, insisting on learning some Zhongchang drawing eyebrows technique from him. He was starting to get annoyed with Zoe. He wanted to go see MIA, but Zoe begged him not to leave. It was the first time she had ever begged him. With a sigh, Cal stayed. MIA might still be thinking about how to apologize, give her a little more time. But as he helped Zoe up the steps, he instinctively glanced at MIA, only to find no trace of jealousy or anger left. MIA was surprisingly calm. It was in that very moment that Cal felt his heart drop. A voice from the depths of his heart told him that he had lost Amir forever. But Zoe clutched his hand tightly, her eyes filled with a plea Cal had never seen before. To maintain the last shred of dignity and not betray Zoe's affection, he absent-mindedly went through with the wedding. But when the officiant recited the wedding vows, Cal suddenly realized something. Zoe's gaze had been fixed on the man beside MIA. He thought Zoe had let go of the past, never expecting that he was the delusional clown all along. As soon as the wedding ended, he rushed straight into the dispersing crowd, searching for Mia's figure. But with people coming and going, he quickly lost sight. being the main character. Zoe insisted on dragging Cal to toast with their parents and guests. It almost seems like they're turning fiction into reality. Halfway through, he finally managed to break free and went to find MIA. But MIA had gone abroad. Cal stood in the center of the airport, only to learn that Xiao Ziliang had sent her abroad. A chilling thought lodged like ice in his chest. Could Xiao Ziliang be looking for a chance to elope with MIA? He quickly called his assistant, instructing him to investigate how MIA and Xiao Ziliang had gotten together. The assistant then sent Cal all the information about what had happened to MIA during this period. Cal thought about it more and more, and the possibility seemed increasingly likely. He immediately bought a ticket to follow her abroad, but he was Zoe stopped. Zoe brought his mother along. That day, Cal and Zoe had a huge argument at the airport. MIA is my wife, she would never abandon me for someone else. What exactly are you trying to achieve by blocking me like this? Zoe burst into tears, clinging to him desperately, her face streaked with rain-like tears. Cal, I'm your real wife, we just finished our wedding ceremony. Cal suddenly remembered, the reason he and MIA started arguing was because Zoe had returned. He pushed down Zoe. MIA is my wife, interfering in someone else's marriage makes you the other woman. Don't you understand? Get out of my way, don't stop me from going to my wife. Zoe got up and slapped him. In the end, he didn't leave after all, because his mother stopped him. Perhaps in this lifetime, he would never see MIA again, thanks to Xiao Ziliang, who more or less kept an eye out for me. Those debt collectors never did come after me. He's a businessman, always good at doing favors that cost him nothing. I spent 3 years abroad, doing nothing but sketching and jewelry design. There's nothing bad about being abroad. The air is fresh here, the sky is blue, perfect for quiet contemplation and creation. Most importantly, it's free from all those troublesome people and matters of the past. Every morning, I brew myself a cup of coffee and then wash up to the sound of soft music. Then, with a cup of coffee mixed with milk, I studied the latest trends and directions in design. Sometimes, I would gather with like-minded designers to exchange design inspirations, and just like that, a whole morning or afternoon would pass by. After a quick wash, I would go to bed, saying goodnight to the ceramic doll glued to the headboard before falling asleep. In 3 years, I completely paid off all the debts my father had left behind. I finally felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Xiao Ziliang said he needed someone like me and invited me back to China to help manage his newly opened design company. I thought I would feel nervous and resistant, but unexpectedly, upon hearing these words, I felt a surge of warmth in my heart. Memories of living with my parents since childhood flooded my heart like a bursting dam. After all, it's hard to leave one's homeland. On my first day back in the country, it was Xiao Ziliang who received me. He half-jokingly told me. Cal was guarding the empty house downstairs every day and frequently came to Xiao Ziliang to make a scene. I feel neither hatred nor joy in my heart. When I moved back into the old house my parents left for me, Cal showed up at my door immediately. Without saying a word, he knelt before me, begging for forgiveness. I didn't want to see him, but I couldn't resist him coming every day. In the end, I sighed and received him. MIA, I'm sorry, I don't need his apologies anymore, Cal. You've never truly understood your own heart. It was the same before, and it will be the same in the future. Back then, I gave him my whole heart, yet he devoted all his attention to Zoe. Later when I left, he turned all his focus back to me. He even neglected his own company and his wife Zoe for my sake. He has always been an immature man. Cal was left speechless by my words and could only grit his teeth in frustration. I didn't want to talk to him anymore and simply showed him the door. Since things have come to this, you'd better focus your mind on Zoe and your company. I heard that the current Ray family, after all these years of his meddling, is now hanging by a thread. Everything that happened afterward, I heard from Xiao Ziliang. After I left, Cal became completely obsessed with me, which the inherently proud Zoe simply couldn't tolerate. She couldn't stand Cal's half-dead company or his mother who needed constant care. What was even more humiliating was that her affair with someone else's husband had already spread throughout their social circle. The verbal abuse and humiliation from the wealthy wives were secondary. The main issue was the sudden collapse of her pure and innocent goddess image. No man was willing to fall for her tricks anymore. Zoe, unable to bear it any longer, orchestrated Cal's scandalous affair with someone else and filed for divorce in court, overnight. Cal had nearly half of his fortune taken away by her. Cal came to me that night to vent his misery, completely drunk, yet he didn't dare come near me at all, just knelt at my doorstep, crying incessantly. He regretted misjudging her, regretted all the wrongs he had done to me in the past, but I didn't open the door for him the entire night. I never wanted to see him again. He was only 30 years old, with plenty of chances to start over. A few nights of crying at most would have been enough. But I never expected that under this blow, he would never get back up again. 7 years ago, it was my father who spotted him at first glance, and our whole family exhausted all our resources to support Cal. That's how he rapidly transformed from an ordinary person into a rising star in the tech industry. President Ray, however, after all, Cal was still too inexperienced, having not undergone much tempering, coupled with Xiao Ziliang's aggressive expansion here. Cal still couldn't turn the tables in this fiercely competitive capital. He had no choice but to seek new development opportunities in other cities. Before leaving, Cal came to see me one last time. "MIA, I'm leaving, maybe, wait for me. I'll definitely come back for you. What did you come to see me for?" He didn't say. Perhaps he was too embarrassed to say it, but I saw the last trace of longing in his eyes. The world beyond the capital is vast, with plenty of opportunities for growth. There are winds different from those in the capital, waters unlike its own, and people of another kind. There is ample time, offering people the chance to start anew. As long as you're willing to work hard, everything can start anew. For the rest of my life, I never saw Cal again. As for Xiao Ziliang, he actually proposed to me, asking if I would marry him in front of a crowd of onlookers. Bystanders were almost screaming in surprise. They never expected the crown prince to propose to an ordinary woman like me. It was considered an incredible blessing. Amidst the excited chants of "say yes to him," I firmly shook my head. It's better to maintain a purely transactional relationship. As Xiao Ziliang put it, if I married him, he would always inform me before bringing other women home, and he wouldn't demand my loyalty either. As long as we maintained clear boundaries, we would be the most compatible partners in both life and work. But the life I seek has never been like this. Having experienced the so-called marriages of high society, I no longer wish to waste my time on such meaningless matters. I don't need to depend on anyone. I still have plenty of time to travel across countless mountains and rivers, to create art and designs that I truly love, live a wonderful life with your parents' expectations. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.